Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ginger Wireman. I work for the Washington State Department of Ecology's Nuclear Waste Program in Richland. And welcome to tonight's Let's Talk About Hanford conversation, which is called Let's Not Talk About Hanford. Sorry, Dad just got home. Hold on for a second. All right. And I usually do outreach and education for Hanford, cleanup issues with nuclear waste program. And we started the series during COVID when I couldn't do outreach. So I'm glad you're here tonight. And I want to introduce my supervisor, Ryan Miller, who will go over a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll get into the program.
Awesome. Thanks, Ginger. Good to see so many people on. We've got currently, I think minus our ecology staff, we have about 20 participants on the Zoom call so far, and Facebook's down about 4, but that should pick up as the event goes along. But again, I'll go over just some general housekeeping items for just kind of share how the events kind of go for those of you who are new to these. First off, we encourage all of you to put any questions or comments that you have during tonight's event at any time into the chat. If you're on we have a dual stream going on. We have a Zoom stream and a Facebook stream. If you're on Facebook, you can put any questions or comments into the Facebook chat, and same for Zoom. Feel free to put any questions or comments into the chat at any time tonight. And for those of you new to these events, our typical structure is that we'll do a kind of our introductions. We'll go into a presentation by our guest speaker of the night, which tonight's John Temple, and we'll introduce him here in a few minutes. And then we'll go into a live Q&A session where we'll answer your questions that you have into the chat, and we'll also be asking some pre-submitted questions that we got in advance of the event. And so again, for those of you who are new to these events, not familiar, or if you haven't been to one in a while, since it's been a little bit of time since we've had our last one, these events are geared to be more high-level information for those who are kind of new to the world of Hanford or getting refreshers on Hanford, or in this case, non-Hanford facilities. So that's kind of the basic kind of premise for these events. We encourage questions and comments into the chat anytime, but we do also want to ask attendees that you please gear your questions to tonight's specific topic, which is non-Hanford facilities. And specifically, we're going to be talking about Permafix Northwest, Columbia Generating Station, and the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. So we do ask that you kind of keep your questions on that specifically, as that's what John's kind of prepared to speak about, and that's his area of expertise. And also we ask if you have any questions that are what we like to call kind of, in the weeds and super complex questions, that you just send that to our email, hanford@ecy.wa.gov, and we'll put that into the chat. Ask that you please put those questions into that forum, just because we're trying to keep these events more high level and understandable for the general kind of public. But all that being said, we'll kind of kick things over back to Ginger to introduce our speaker for the night. And again, you don't have to wait for the Q&A to put your questions in the chat. You can put your questions in the chat at any time, and go ahead and take us away, Ginger.
All right. Well, I did want to do one more thing before we get started. Anna Grissel, you want to turn on your camera? We have a new staff person in our communications group at the Department of Ecology, and we are super excited to introduce Anna Grissel Alvarez with you. And in the future, she's going to be helping to co-facilitate these, and she is our main web and social media person. So when you're asking questions on Facebook or whatever, she's going to be the one who will try to track down the answers for you. So welcome, Anna. We're glad to have you. And can you tell us just real quick where you came from? Like where you came from for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ginger. Hello, everyone. Ana Grisel Alvarez, like Ginger said, I am a communications consultant for this program. I'm really excited to be here. And my background a little bit is in the governmental kind of area. And I was also a translator, and I am kind of in the expertise of languages and diversity and translating. So really excited to be here again, and excited for these conversations that we are promoting. And we'll have some really good topics for next year. So stay tuned.
Thank you. And now welcoming John Temple. John's been with us, I don't know how long. John's going to tell you about himself. He is our Facility Transitions Project Manager. And John, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, Ginger. Hi, everyone. Everybody had a great Halloween yesterday, and now you get to listen to my lovely voice for a little while. Yep, as Ginger said, I'm John Temple. I'm the Facility Transition Project Manager in the Waste Management section here at Ecology Nuclear Waste Program. I've been here at NWP for almost 8 years, and I've been in this position for 3 years now. So some of you might be wondering, though a majority probably aren't, but what is facility transition? The term facility transition was applied when this project was first established, well before I ever took over, when its primary role was taking facilities out at the Hanford site from operational status to its end state final disposition, hence the title, facility transition. Over time, the project kind of became the kitchen sink here at NWP. If something didn't fit squarely into one project, it tended to kind of get rolled into the transition project. So when I took over as project manager, on top of facility disposition, the project covers water permitting and provides regulatory oversight for several operating facilities out at Hanford site. And for the reason we're all here tonight, it also includes regulatory oversight for non-Hanford facilities. So tonight I'll be going over these non-Hanford facilities, providing an overview of the activities that take place and also NWP's role at each facility. But before we jump into things, I'd like to, get to the 30,000 foot level discussion. Basically, what do we do here at NWP? And what we do at a high level, we manage dangerous waste within the state by writing permits to regulate the treatment, storage, and disposal of dangerous waste. We have the authority to regulate dangerous waste and the dangerous waste components of mixed waste, which is just a mixture of radioactive and dangerous waste. The radiological portion of mixed waste is regulated by the Washington State Department of Health. The reason as to why NWP is involved with non-Hanford facilities that I'll be going over is because if a facility in the state manages mixed waste and also requires a dangerous waste permit, we're involved. I can't. Dana, are you presenting the slides?
I don't see them up now.
Not yet, but I will here now.
You can go to the first slide, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard.
If my screen will work with me. Yeah, hold on. Pardon me, we're having technical difficulties.
I'll try to get through this so we can all get back to the World Series here.
There we go. Okay.
All right, thank you. So what you're seeing here is an aerial view of Naval Base Kitsap located in Bremerton, Washington. The base is owned by the United States Navy and operated by Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility. Next slide, Dana, please. So there is a lot of activity that occurs at the shipyard, which is home port for both active and inactive naval vessels. These activities include maintenance, overhaul, decommissioning, and dismantling of vessels like submarines and aircraft carriers. Now, when this type of work occurs on naval nuclear powered vessels, mixed waste can be generated. So to support this, Naval Base Kitsap operates a dangerous waste management unit to store mixed waste prior to being shipped offsite for treatment and disposal. Next slide, Dana. Owning and operating a facility where dangerous waste is stored for greater than 90 days requires a dangerous waste management unit facility permit. And this is the reason why the nuclear waste program is involved. For the entire naval base, we are concerned with the one building located in the middle of the base, the mixed waste storage facility, which began operations back in 1996. The facility is a concrete masonry, completely enclosed facility that is designed and constructed for one purpose, to store mixed waste. No treatment or disposal of mixed waste occurs at the mixed waste storage facility or at any other location of the naval base. Next slide, please. The majority of mixed waste at the facility stored there is in solid form and stored in 55-gallon metal drums. The mixed waste is mostly paint chips from ship refurbishing and decommissioning defueled naval reactor compartment components from submarines. I will say the nuclear waste program, we go up there and perform on-site inspections at the mixed waste facility once a year. And I have been to the facility myself, and I can say that the Navy does an impeccable job. It is a very clean facility. Next slide. So Ecology recently issued the dangerous waste permit renewal for the mixed waste storage facility in March of this year. It was one of the first permit renewals to be issued by our program in quite a while, so I was very happy to be a part of that. The new permit allows construction of the facility's operations with some minor tweaks. For example, containers that manage ignitable waste will now be stored in a separate storage cabinet, and the maximum storage capacity for the configuration was reduced to allow idle spacing requirements to be met. And this current permit will be in effect until April of 2032. Next slide. All right, let's move on to Permafix Northwest. So since 2007, Permafix Northwest has operated a commercial mixed waste facility and a low-level waste facility on 45 acres in Richland in an industrial area near the Hanford site boundary. Next slide, please. Permafix Northwest provides services for the treatment and storage for both low-level radioactive waste in the low-level waste facility and mixed low-level waste, and also mixed TSCA, Toxic Substance Control Act, polychlorinated biphenyls, PCB waste in the mixed waste facility. Again, Ecology's authority lies with the dangerous waste component of the mixed waste managed in the mixed waste facility. Next slide. All right, so to operate the mixed waste facility, Permafix requires permits and licenses that are issued by separate authorities. For example, a RCRA or dangerous waste permit is issued by Ecology for the storage and treatment of mixed low-level waste. A radioactive materials license is issued by Washington State Department of Health for the management of low-level radioactive waste. And this includes both low-level waste managed at the low-level waste facility and the radioactive component of mixed waste at the mixed waste facility. There's also a TSCA approval issued by EPA that is required for the storage of mixed PCB waste. And Permafix Northwest operations also require appropriate radiological air emission licenses issued by Washington State Department of Health and notice of construction approval orders for criteria and toxic air emissions issued by Benton Clean Air Agency. Now, I know I went over a lot there and it sounds like a lot of moving parts, but Ecology, EPA, and Department of Health do meet quarterly to discuss status of permits and issue licenses and to keep both agencies, or all agencies, apprised of any important topics that come up. Next slide, please. All right, let's get into the mixed waste facility. The facility consists of a steel frame, metal-sided building. 3 separate activities take place at the mixed waste facility. They are treatment, storage, loading, and unloading. All waste that enters the mixed waste facility is stored and is either repackaged or treated, then shipped off site for further treatment, disposal, or sent back to the generator. Next slide. Treatment and storage of mixed waste takes place in 3 areas within the mixed waste facility. There's the waste storage areas outlined in black there, the mixed waste non-thermal areas, the blue outline, and the mixed waste thermal areas, which is in the red outline. The mixed waste non-thermal area, the blue one, is the main area used for treatment of mixed waste. The other 2, mixed waste thermal and waste storage areas, are principally used for the storage of containerized mixed waste. Next slide. And 1 second here. Go Cougs. Oh, excuse me. All right, so let's quickly go over waste streams Permafix can manage at the mixed waste facility. Typically, waste accepted for treatment and storage can be organized into 5 generator categories. So waste comes from the Hanford site, USDOE, other Department of Energy sites, other federal agencies like Department of Defense, commercial generators, and international generators. This type of waste these generators send to the mixed waste facility can fall under mixed low-level waste, mixed transuranic waste, TRUM waste, or mixed TSCA PCB waste. And the physical forms of this waste can be solid, like soil, liquids, like solvents, sludge, and debris. Next slide. you can touch base on the waste acceptance process. So the generator is responsible to fully characterize the waste prior to shipment to Permafix Northwest. The generator will document all the characteristics of the waste stream and the waste profiles, and it's Permafix Northwest's responsibility to verify the waste can be safely managed at the facility. The decision on whether to approve a waste stream for acceptance is based on one, treatment capabilities, nature of the waste, and capability and compatibility. And that's compatibility with treatment equipment, containers, and other waste managed at the facility. I think we can probably skip down to treatment plan. So once in storage at the mixed waste facility, a treatment plan is developed for each waste stream accepted at the facility in accordance with the dangerous waste permit waste analysis plan. The treatment plan basically ensures that waste will be treated successfully to meet land disposal requirements so that it can be disposed at a landfill. Next slide. So depending on the treatment plan, waste stream can either be treated using systems to provide volume reduction. And these systems, like there's a shredder system that is used to reduce the size of waste for easier handling and packaging, cutting and shearing, as the name implies, tools such as electric saws, shear cutters reduce large size waste debris to a size suitable for further processing. There's a drum compactor, super compactor, and in-barrel compactor. There's also provide volume reduction. There's an aerosol can puncturing device, and this is a portable device to depressurize, deactivate non-punctured aerosol cans to render them empty. There are also treatment systems utilized for meeting LDR requirements. There's the low capacity mixer. This system mixes waste with reagents such as cement for stabilization. There's the in-container mixer. For this system, reagents are added to a waste in a 55-gallon drum to neutralize and stabilize the waste into a cement-like solid. The drum serves as both the mixing vessel and the final disposal container for the waste being treated, and also macro encapsulation of waste in a seal jacket of inert material. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about the dangerous waste permit here. So the dangerous waste permit for the mixed waste facility was originally issued in 1999 to Allied Technology Group. As I mentioned, Permafix took over ownership back in 2007. So now the current permit expired in July 2009. And some of you might be wondering, how can they still operate if their permit expired 13 years ago? Well, the reason is Permafix submitted a dangerous waste permit renewal application prior to the expiration date in 2009. And Ecology considered the application complete. Therefore, Permafix can continue to operate under its expired permit until the renewal becomes effective. Now, regarding the status of the permit renewal, Ecology and Permafix are currently working on resolving the remaining outstanding comments on the renewal application. And we are planning for a public comment period on the renewal sometime in 2023. Next slide, please. Some of the changes in the proposed permit renewal include additional treatment processes and increase in capacity for treatment units like the ICM and shredder system, as well as additional container storage space. Next slide. So why is it taking so long to get the renewal done? It's a long story, and I'm not going to get all the way into it, but I can say in the past, time was spent processing permit modifications instead of working on the renewal. Also, staff turnover for both Ecology and Permafix has led to some delay. But I will say in the last 6 to 8 months, we've made considerable progress on resolving remaining comments and finalizing sections of the renewal application. And like I said, the public comment period for the permit renewal is slated for sometime in 2023. Next slide. All right, so let's move on to the last site, which is a bit different than the previous two in terms of nuclear waste program's responsibility. So the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, or known as EFSEC, established back in 1970, it was created to provide a streamlined siting and permitting process for oversight of large energy facilities across the state. EFSEC is the primary regulatory authority over the Columbia Generating Station and the industrial development complex located on the Hanford site. Now, I know I just said on the Hanford site. I thought we were just talking about non-Hanford, and we are. What I mean here is that the activities at these two sites are separate from Hanford site cleanup mission, the cleanup of contaminated soil, groundwater, and legacy facilities during the production of plutonium. Next slide, please. Energy Northwest, which was established by Washington state legislation, owns and operates the Columbia Generating Station and the Industrial Development Complex. Energy Northwest leases the land used for these two areas from the United States Department of Energy. The Columbia Generating Station is a nuclear energy facility located about 12 miles north of Richland. It's a boiling water reactor that uses nuclear fission to produce heat that supplies electricity to much of the state. The Industrial Development Complex, which is adjacent to the Columbia Generating Station, was originally the site for 2 additional nuclear energy facilities. However, before construction was completed on the 2 additional facilities, the projects were canceled. After cancellation, Energy Northwest subleased the Industrial Development Complex out to tenants for various industrial projects. But currently, the Industrial Development Complex is undergoing closure and restoration. Next slide. Now, as I mentioned, FSEC is the regulatory authority over the Columbia Generating Station and the Industrial Development Complex, but it does not have the technical staff on hand to perform all the job duties it has been delegated. Therefore, FSEC relies on Ecology through an interagency agreement or contract to provide technical review and support to FSEC on its regulatory responsibilities. Several ecology offices are involved in supporting FSEC, but here at Nuclear Waste Program, we serve as the primary contact for the Columbia Generating Station and the Industrial Development Complex. We draft permits, perform inspections, and review key documents at FSEC's request and as specified in our contract with FSEC. Next slide. Some of the current support we have provided includes environmental compliance audits that we are conducted quarterly with Energy Northwest, FSEC, Ecology, and Department of Health to discuss emerging issues and status of permits. We're drafting wastewater discharge permits, and we also perform an air inspection every October at the Columbia Generating Station on their diesel combustion units. Next slide. I think we got through it, and a good time.
So good job, John. Thank you for sharing your slides. We'll go ahead and move into the facilitation part of the night here. See, we've got one question on the Zoom chat. We'll get to that in a second. We'll let folks put in their questions on the chats here in the next few minutes, and we'll kind of kick off with some of our pre-submitted questions to give people some time to put their questions in the chat if they do have questions. So John, one of our pre-submitted questions asked, does Permafix provide Ecology with an air emissions inventory report?
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Oh, so air emission report. So Department of Health, and like I mentioned, Department of Health and Benton Clean Air Agency regulate the air emissions for Permafix Northwest. So they would be the best points of contact regarding any air permitting for this facility.
Awesome. I think that kind of goes in line with the second part of that question, which was, if so, can Ecology post those reports online? So that kind of answered that. The question 2 was, what is the status, scope, and schedule of the new Permafix Northwest environmental impact statement? And then I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question too, since they're kind of related and you can kind of bundle them both together. It was, what is the status, scope, and schedule for renewal of the expired Permafix Northwest dangerous waste permit? And I know you kind of covered that during your presentation, but if you want to quickly go over those again, that'd be great.
Sure, yeah. So there was an environmental impact statement was completed back in 1999 when the dangerous waste permit was first issued. And since then, there has been changes at the facility. So a supplemental environmental impact statement, or SEIS, will be drafted by the Nuclear Waste Program to address additional or new impacts associated with the proposed dangerous waste renewal application. And the supplemental EIS will be going out for public comment concurrently at the same time with the permit renewal. And I am in no ways a CPET expert here, but I do know the supplemental EIS will consider new information on increased transportation of waste and changes in mixed waste facility operations. And like I said, for the dangerous waste permit renewal, it's scheduled to go out for public comment in 2023.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And I think we have a couple of questions on Zoom now. Ginger, do you want to go ahead and ask the first couple of Zoom questions?
Or if I unmute myself, you can actually hear me. So Carl Pauls asked, John, does your division have anything to do with medical isotope disposal? For example, the activities at Harborview in 2019.
Interesting. I do not know. I would like to hear more about that, but I do not.
Okay, so Carl, you can email us at the address at the end and we can try to see if we can get an answer for that question to you. Jerry sorry, Jerry, I'm butchering your last. Yorioka asked, are the 55-gallon drums made for radioactive waste? I'm assuming he means the storage containers that stuff gets put into. Are they made for radioactive waste or are they standard oil industry type drums?
They're compatible for with the mixed waste that they'll be storing.
So, okay.
That's about as far as I can go. I'm sure I get more.
Okay,
info on that,
okay.
but they are.
And then from Matthew Campbell. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. We're gonna switch to a different question list.
Yeah, we scroll back and forth a little bit. I still don't see any questions on Facebook, but going back to our pre-submitted question list, let me pull that through. Let me track down my paperwork. John, our next question was, can Ecology please post the Permafix Northwest complete dangerous waste permit online? I know we talked a little bit about that on permit renewal and where that's going to be accessible. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So, yeah, I mean, when the permit renewal goes out for public comment, it'll be out online. But if anyone, I guess, wants to see a copy of the current permit, they can always contact us and we can provide that to them.
Awesome, thanks, John. And another pre-submitted question we had was, what other sources of public information are available for Permafix Northwest and its operations?
So, I mean, the Ecology website, there's the Permafix Northwest website. There's the EPA ECHO tool, ECHO tool that identifies compliant information. Those are three that I can think of right now.
Awesome, thank you. And Ginger, you can go ahead and ask the next Zoom question.
Let's see, what about how much of what is packaged at Permafix goes back to Hanford and how much of it goes out of state, and where does it go if it goes out of Hanford or if it goes out of state?
So Permafix, like all facilities that manage dangerous waste, are required to submit a dangerous waste annual report. And that information regarding, the facility's receipt of dangerous waste can be found in that report. And that report can be found at a college's website, and we can provide that specific link.
Cool. Let's see. We have a question from Matthew Campbell. What is the status of the test bed initiative, as Permafix may be involved in grouting and disposing this low-level waste?
Thanks for your question, Matthew. I'm not sure how much Don can go into that one, but I know from my perspective, I could say that we're continuing to chat with Energy about TBI, and Ecology is certainly supportive of seeing that project move forward, and we're waiting for Energy to submit its permit application for phase 2 of the test bed initiative. And that's kind of my current answer I have for that one. Unless John had anything else to expand on, I see you shaking your head.
Nothing regarding TBI, no.
Okay. All right. Ginger, do we have any other live Zoom questions? And I'm keeping an eye on Facebook, and I don't see any questions on Facebook. So.
Well, Carl had more information on the incident at Harborview, but you can look at the chat, John, if you want to look at that for background. There is another question that I don't think was covered in the discussion, and it is, do we need to be concerned about the steam that comes from Columbia Generating Station? Is there any way for it to be radioactive?
So I'll admit I am not the expert on that. I'm sure if you maybe Google anything on the Columbia Generation Station website, you might be able to find something there on that.
Thanks, John. Going back to our list of pre-submitted questions we had in a letter that was sent to us, we've got, and you kind of touched on this one a little bit already with the draft permit renewal, but what public comment periods are planned in the near term for Ecology's oversight work?
As of right now, there's no permit modifications in the near future. So the only thing plan for comment period would be the comment period for the dangerous waste permit renewal, and also the comment period on the supplemental environmental impact statement,
Okay, awesome. And
both slated for 2023.
okay, perfect. And again, encouraging folks, I think our chat boxes have died down a bit on Facebook and Zoom, but if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat. We do have some more pre-submitted questions we can get through in the meantime. Our next question for you, John, was do stack exhaust fans for the 5 Permafix Northwest off-gas stacks continue running when North Richland has a power outage?
You know, again, for that one, Department of Health and Benton Clean Air Agency, they regulate the air emissions at Permafix Northwest. So I would say they would be the best of points of contact for that type of question.
Thanks, John. And still not seeing any on Zoom, but another pre-submitted question. These ones are all kind of grouped together, so I thought I would just ask them all at once, kind of like earlier, and just give an answer if you got it. So what portion of the Permafix Northwest mixed waste work scope is not from Hanford? What portion of the mixed waste work scope is commercial / non-government? And what portion of the mixed waste is imported from other countries?
So I think I kind of already touched base on this one, but Permafix is required to submit a dangerous waste annual report, and that information is included in that report, and it can be found at Ecology's website, and we can give them the specific address for that information.
All right, we have one other one. Do you know if there were ever any other non-Hanford facilities in Washington that we oversaw that closed and that we don't oversee or regulate that may have sent their waste to Permafix?
Well, I can say, I guess, in my own project, maybe before I took off, we used to have Framatome, which used to be a nuclear reactor fuel manufacturing facility, still there, but it had a dangerous waste permit for 2 dangerous waste management units. These 2 dangerous waste management units were closed out, and Ecology accepted the closure and issued a letter closing out Framatome out of their record permit. And I'm not sure the time frame on that. I think it was 2017-18 time frame, maybe.
Thank you. Do these 3 facilities work with any other regulators in ecology? I think you touched on that. Are there other regulators involved with these facilities?
Department of Health, for the radiological part, EPA is involved. I mentioned that Permafix, Benton Clean Air Agency is also involved.
Okay. And then are the in-person inspections done by ecology staff at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard?
They go out and they perform once a year.
Once a year.
Yep.
So that's why we have that picture of the extremely sanitary and clean.
Very true. Yep.
Storage area, squeaky clean.
And John, here's another pre-submitted question from that list. How does ecology consider the added risk from Permafix Northwest operations that are solely low-level risks?
For low-level waste authority, again, that's with Department of Health. So recommend reaching out to Department of Health on that one.
Okay. These next 2 questions are kind of similar to the question Ginger asked about inspections at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, but this one's kind of tied to Permafix again, and I'll just bunch them together too because they're pretty similar again. The first question was, is Ecology performing in-person inspections at Permafix Northwest? Can Ecology make these inspection reports available to the public, as is done for Hanford? And the next question was, does Ecology or Washington State Department of Health have a resident inspector at Permafix Northwest?
So same like Puget Sound Naval Shipyard or a naval-based Kitsap, we perform an inspection at least once a year at Permafix. Inspection reports, they're located in our central file here at the Nuclear Waste Program, and we can provide those upon request too. Regarding a resident inspector, no, we don't have one that's living that's at Permafix Northwest, but we do, like I said, make annual site visits. And we do have a compliance inspector that his work scope encompasses Permafix Northwest.
Awesome, John. Well, I think I got through our list of questions we had. I'm not seeing any questions in the Zoom chat unless I missed any. Anna Grisel, have you seen anything on Facebook?
Nope, nothing on Facebook.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and give another 30 seconds if anybody does have any questions, just to make sure we're giving everybody a chance to ask what their questions are. I guess while we're waiting, John, this might just be a Ryan question, but now I'm trying to figure out what my question was. Ginger, do you have any outstanding questions for John from the communications side of things?
I'm curious if, like, do you know if the drills actually ever include the kinder care facility?
I am not aware of that one, but I'm sure we
Okay.
can find
That's,
out. about
that's
that.
something I would like to know. I mean, I don't have kids there, but it's something that I've always wondered because they're within the Energy Northwest circle.
Yeah, and I see another question did come in on the Zoom chat from a person named iPad. Why are you not discussing Hanford? We actually, so all of our other events we have done for Let's Talk About Hanford have focused on different Hanford topic areas. We just wanted to kind of chat about, some of the other non-Hanford, maybe Hanford related work that our program does do. So as we continue to do more of these events, we're definitely going to keep touching on different Hanford subject areas. I think our last Hanford one was our last event was in June, and we talked about compliance at Hanford and inspections at the Hanford site. But if you have any suggestions or requests for a specific topic, feel free to please put that into the chat at hanford@ecy.wa.gov. You can email us your ideas, and you can put into the Facebook or Zoom chat as we're continuing to plan future events. But that's kind of the answer to that question. Hopefully that can answer that. And doing a final check here on Facebook, don't see anything. Final check on Zoom, I don't see anything. I think, Ginger, we can probably move to closing this event out unless anybody puts in any last minute questions.
All right. Well, again, thanks everyone for coming and asking questions, and make sure that you share with your friends if you want to. These are recorded, so you can share them with people later. And feel free to reach out to us with any other future questions or ideas. And John, do you have any final thoughts?
Nothing for me. Just thanks for sitting and listening for me. So yeah, thank you.
And my
Ryan?
note to the folks is we're gonna have this event. If you're on the Zoom or the Facebook version, it'll buffer and you can rewatch the event afterwards if you want. We're also going to put it on our Ecology YouTube channel. We're also going to put the link to the recording on our website, as well as we'll link the slides from tonight's event on our website, and we'll send out a notification to our Hanford email distribution list tomorrow or the day after, whenever we're able to get to the recording up. And so we'll provide links to the slides and the recording from tonight's event.
And if you missed any of our earlier episodes, feel free again to go to the Department of Ecology website, ecology.wa.gov, scroll to the bottom and look for the YouTube icon. And then when you get there, you can sort by Hanford and you can watch any of our prior episodes. And I think that's it. Thanks everybody for coming.
Have a
And
good night.
thank you, John. That was
All right. Thank you.